Every home seller wants to increase their home value as much as possible so they can get that home sold quickly and profitably. And that's the fun part of my job, is working with sellers. So if that's you, stay tuned. This video is all about how you can increase your home value if you're selling in Minnesota. All right, now before we get into it, I want to let you know my contact info is all down in the description below. So feel free, reach out if you have any more questions or if you have a specific project you're thinking about doing, wondering if it's going to increase your value. I'd love to answer that for you. And of course, leave me a comment, a like, would appreciate it so much. All right, now let's get into it. I've got 8 different tips that I'm going to share with you, some of my personal favorites and good and bad of each one. So let's get into it. Number 1 is going to be making your home more attractive. And specifically, we're talking about curb appeal right now. Here's a picture I'm going to show you. So I was at Lowe's the other day. I found this little front door thing for like $8, and it completely changed this home from being really drab to very warm and inviting. Things like that are very inexpensive can really change the curb appeal of your home, can definitely give a better first impression when someone sees your home online or when they walk up to that front door. We want it to look really inviting, really attractive. I don't need you to think about functional things, like I had a client that had a bunch of little lawn chairs spread out across the front. That might be fine if you like to sit there and watch the cars go by, but it's not going to be a very attractive thing. So clean up the landscaping a little bit, maybe put out a doormat. If you want to paint the front door an accent color, things like that will definitely increase your home value. Number 2, let's think low maintenance. Now, I'm not necessarily telling you to spend a ton of money, but if you're already going to be doing a project, definitely keep in mind the maintenance of the home. And not just the functional maintenance of what you know it's actually going to take, but what the perceived maintenance is going to be for the buyer. So for example, if you've got a deck, I wouldn't necessarily tell you to replace it all with an expensive composite that's going to be super expensive. But I would say instead of painting that deck, for example, maybe you can power wash it and sand it and then stain it. What's nice about it is after you've stained that deck, instead of painting it, for example, when you go to sell your home, buyers aren't going to be seeing a painted deck thinking, oh, I'm going to have to repaint that in 6 months. If it's stained, for example, that's going to last a whole lot longer and it's going to wear a whole lot better. While we're talking along the lines of perceived value and maintenance from that buyer too, even things like carpet, for example, it's very inexpensive, but if they see that as one more thing they have to do, then it's going to be a huge drawback in their mind. It's going to be a real mental ding for them. So even little things, touching up paint, stuff like that, they're going to see it as less that they have to do, less maintenance that they're going to have to do, and so they're going to like it a whole lot more. Tip number 3, I want you to think efficiency. Now this is becoming more and more top of mind for buyers. If they walk through your home, for example, and the windows are really drafty and old, even though you might say, well, they're functioning perfectly fine, a buyer's going to say, man, that's not very efficient, my bill's going to be higher. And so that's going to be a big negative for the buyers as well. So if you've got older windows and you've got the money to spend, it's definitely worthwhile. They're not nearly as expensive as a lot of people think, and especially as much as buyers typically think, because they're thinking, well, they're assuming it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars to replace that. In reality, it's probably a lot less, especially if you can do the work yourself. I'd caution you a little bit. You got to definitely know what you're doing and pull permits still. But even having a contractor do it, it's not nearly as expensive to upgrade the efficiency of your home. Other things you can consider is if the attic insulation is very, very low, especially in older homes. Typically, I think they're saying right now something like 16 to 18 inches worth of blown-in insulation is the new construction standard. Don't quote me on that one, but it's quite a bit. If I go into an older home, my buyer's into it, they get their inspection done, the inspector looks up there and it's got 3 or 4 inches, they're gonna again see that as one more thing that they have to do, but also it's gonna cost them more on their energy bill, and so they're not gonna pay nearly as much for something like that, which again, insulation in the attic is not terribly expensive. Number 4, let's talk about making it bigger. Now, I wouldn't necessarily tell people to start with doing some big addition, right? And if you are, I would really caution you, definitely honestly reach out and I'd help you know which is or isn't a good idea to do. But let's talk about making it bigger. A lot of people just want to get more square footage. They're in a 2 or 3 bedroom house. They want to make it a 4 or 5 bedroom. Here's the general rule of thumb. If you can increase your square footage, that's a really good thing. If you're doing a 3 or 4 season porch, if it's not completely finished and HVAC'd, then I can't consider that finished square footage. So that won't necessarily help you as much. But regardless, if there's just more living space and it really changes the feel and layout, then that can be a huge plus. Also, with the basements, typically it's not real expensive to finish off a basement. A lot of them have actually already got the electrical, so all you gotta do is some sheetrock, some flooring, some trim, so that's relatively cheap and easy. So if you wanna do that, I would definitely take advantage of that and maximize the livable square feet. That may also get you another bedroom. Of course, don't forget you've got to put in an egress window, but typically basements are a really easy way to get you some extra square footage, possibly an extra bedroom or bathroom, and more living space. So people will love that and will definitely pay more for that. And it's going to be able to return you a lot more than you spend. If you're thinking about doing a big addition on your home, that's what I would really caution you on. They can get very expensive, they can get very time consuming. So generally I'm not telling people to go add on a big living room addition off of the back or something, or to expand the garage, something like that. If it's something you're thinking about, you may really love it. Who knows if the buyer will or not, so honestly, let's have a conversation. I'd be happy to come out and see what you're doing, see if it's going to get you a good return on your investment. Tip number 5 would be to make your home smarter. Now, this has been a very interesting topic that comes up a lot more. I'm seeing more and more builders making theirs smart homes. I'm not saying you've got to go all crazy, all out on a remodel for a home, but simple little things like having a Wi-Fi, like a Nest thermostat, for example. Buyers love that. If you've got different things connected, I've got a Sonos system throughout my house, and so it's a wireless speaker system. Small little things like that are definitely a nice upgrade. If you've got Ring cameras, or if you've got like a Ring doorbell, for example, buyers do love that. If you've got one in your house, I would definitely expect it to stay with the property, but it's typically not a huge dollar investment that people really appreciate. Little modern things like that. Even if you don't need a full security system, just thinking of a doorbell so you can see who's coming in from your phone is really, really nice. So fairly inexpensive. Definitely you can think about making your home smarter. Tip number 6, and this is going to sound ridiculous to some people, but paint your home in a modern sort of way. I know it sounds crazy, but honestly, if you paint your walls kind of a light gray and your trim, your baseboards and your casing to all be white, it immediately raises the value of the home. It sounds crazy because you would think, well, I've got light tan walls and wood trim or something. I'm telling you right now, go look at any new construction. Next time the Parade of Homes or one of these builder tours comes through, the vast majority of the homes are all going to be the same color, and it's all a light gray on the walls, except for a few accents. All of the trim, by and large, is all going to be white. It's clean, it's neutral, it's very modern, and so buyers really, really love that. If you're somebody that's selling your home and you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you're fairly handy and you don't mind painting, that's a very cheap, very inexpensive way to easily make your home feel a whole lot more modern. Tip number 7, and that's going to be decorate to impress. I can't tell you how many times I've got sellers who have a decent amount of equity in their house. They want to sell their home. Maybe they're upsizing or downsizing, doesn't really matter, but they're going to be cashing out some equity. And they're so excited for that furniture that they're going to be able to buy. And they're like, man, it's time to get rid of that old couch. They're so pumped that they're going to get new furniture or redecorate or whatever. What I would tell you is do that actually beforehand. If you've got a little money in savings or whatever, if it's time to replace that living room furniture, then I'd say go ahead and do it now in your current home, because then it's going to feel a whole lot more modern. Okay, so then you've got gray walls, you've got white trim, and all of a sudden you've got a whole new living room set that's probably going to be a lot more fresh and modern and new feeling. So then when buyers walk into our house, it will feel completely different. If you're already buying this stuff anyways, I would say just decorate more modern in general. A couple little tips would be go check out Pinterest. It's free. It's kind of a social site if you're not on there. You can just type in like master bedroom staging ideas or paint colors or types of furniture, stuff like that. And you can get all kinds of ideas for how to decorate your home more modern. Also, obviously, HGTV or any of the cable channels, they've all got tons of stuff that you can do. Both for staging your home to sell, but also if you're just thinking about redecorating, see what kind of styles there are out there, see what kind of comforters people are doing, what kind of artwork they're doing. That's going to appeal a whole lot more to a younger buyer, and then they will in turn be more than happy to pay more for that house. Even though those things aren't staying with the home, you're going to get to take them to your new house and enjoy them. They'll still be able to see themselves in the home, attached to the home a lot more emotionally. They'll love the home, fall in love with it, and then they'll pay you very well for it. Tip number 8 is going to be, I need you to take yourself out of the home. Now this is really, really challenging, possibly the hardest thing that any seller will do, and it doesn't matter, if you're selling it traditionally, if you're selling it to a friend, if you're selling it to an iBuy or something, removing yourself, detaching emotionally from the home is the hardest part. So here's what you need to do. First of all, talk to somebody like myself. I have a stager that comes in. They'll tell you exactly what to do in order to remove yourself from the house. But that stager will be able to say, okay, these things need to come off the walls, and instead put something like this there. You have your style of what you like. I've got a client that honestly absolutely loves their light blue carpet. most buyers would hate it. And so for example, with that person, I just had one, they replaced their they replaced their hardwood floors and they actually put in carpet, and the buyers hated it. And the first thing they did when the new buyer came in was they ripped it all out. So in a way, that seller just wasted a bunch of money because the buyer's not gonna love it. You've got to take your taste out of it. Maybe you've got wallpaper that you love, that's probably gonna have to go. If you've got certain decor items, I had a seller that they loved chickens and they had this whole farmhouse thing going on, and they had little like chicken wallpaper and little, ceramic chicken things all over the kitchen. It doesn't matter if your style is chickens or is blue carpet or is whatever it is, you've got to take a total, third-party neutral lens to see your home with. Allow somebody else to come into the home and tell you what's going to be able to change that perception for the buyer so that they fall in love with it. The buyer is able to see themselves there with their style as much as possible. That's the definition of making your home neutral, so that it appeals to the most number of people, and then they will again pay you for it. All right, that's it for increasing your home's value. I've got a whole bunch more stuff for buyers and sellers, so we'll give you links to videos and playlists right here. Make sure to subscribe, and of course you can find all my contact info down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.